we've gone from one end of the spectrum around traditional, authoritative, works well in hierarchical settings when fast decision making, that command control is required. That is a style that works well in profit first or profit driven companies. We've then gone all the way to the other end of the
Yeah.
spectrum. That is more of that servant leadership, I think is what you called it. Being more there to serve that purpose and serve your people. And those long-term financial successes will come, but it is much more of a long-term piece.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that it has its challenges too. So still in this, when we go back to the debate of profit, people, purpose, we're still in these two ends of the spectrum, it sounds like, of one versus the other.
Yeah.
But it makes me wonder, is there a middle ground? And I think there is. So that was leading the witness question. If I truly think there is a middle ground, because I've lived it, I've breathed it, I've experienced it, I've seen it. But I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of, specifically how you do that from a tactics perspective strategy. But it does make me think of what's that middle ground from a leadership perspective. What's that leadership style?
Yeah. Yeah. So what's the style where you do not have to choose necessarily between those components that we keep on referencing, right? And similar to you, I've been down that path too. Like when I was in my first leadership role, I was all over like results, profit. I had my boards all up with performance data and only to soon find out that it was not very motivating for my team and I was losing people, right? And I mean, not the least, it wasn't fun for me either.
Yeah.
And then in kind of as I grew as a leader, I started kind of focusing more on the people and the purpose side. And I even took that kind of to the extreme of self-managing teams. So I was really at the service of my people and was really focused on their growth and development, setting them up for success, getting to know them a lot more personally. And ultimately trying to make my own job redundant, right? That was what success looked like for me. And I although I felt more comfortable with the latter, I also felt the pressure of the organization around me. Like as long as the results were heading in the right direction, I didn't hear anyone complain about it, right?
But no one asked any questions.
As soon as there were any doubts, the skepticism was there, questions were asked, and I really had to fight for kind of this leadership style.
Yeah.
And then over the years, I have also felt kind of the need sometimes to go back to that other side and felt like I may have moved too much to one side. So all that to say, it's a great question. Like, what's that middle ground? What's the leadership style that kind of combines all of that? The company that comes to my mind is Patagonia. Like, can we look at them? They
good example.
They're profitable. While they are also still like huge advocates and for sustainability. In my opinion, that's one of the companies that really lives and breathes that purpose-driven mindset. And then they're really focused on employee engagement, employee well-being, and the customers love them for it and are willing to pay for it too, right? So it begs the question. We love our questions. No answers, just questions. It begs the question of like, is there a magic ingredient that companies like Patagonia add into that mix, kind of on top of the leadership styles that we've talked about already?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I expected to find a ton of organizations like Patagonia out there that they're, and what their leadership styles were. And it was harder than I would like to admit, given I feel so strongly about this. But I would say the best term I could find to describe what this mindset is that these leaders adopt to lead truly, purpose, people, and profit, holistically balanced organizations is human-centered leadership. And the interesting piece was the human-centered leadership. I think a lot of people just hear human and centered and they think people first, right?
Yeah.
But it's more than that. It's kind of putting yourself in the middle of all of these different perspectives, priorities that you have to be able to manage. And yes, it is being empathetic and caring and realizing you are here to serve others to some extent. But the piece that I found the interesting, and of this,
Yeah.
it's and these leaders do not hesitate to hold people accountable to truly
Mm-hmm.
delivering impact against people, purpose, and profit. And I think that's the interesting thing that balances it and can get confusing for some people is that being a human and empathetic leader, but also not hesitating to say, hey guys, like these are our commitments to be able to realize our purpose goals. We got to stick to these as a group.
Yeah, I love that. Accountability. Accountability, it's one of my favorite words, the questions that I always ask, like who owns this,
Yeah.
right? Like who's accountable for this piece. So I love how you put that as an extra kind of factor or ingredient in that leadership style. I would argue though that servant leadership at its core or how it was intended, I think had that in it too, right?
Fair.
But over time, I think the perception became that that's just more of a soft style of leadership,
Yeah.
and we started losing kind of that perspective of accountability and results. We kind of lost focus on that. So human-centered leadership is what you call it. I I I I can get on board with that. I can get on board with that. So it's not just about leaders being nice.
Yeah.
Right? It's also about pushing people to take on challenges, challenging them to grow, to try new things,
You
to
got it.
get outside of their comfort zone,
Yeah.
and to hold them accountable
Yeah.
to their results.
Yeah.
And that might be the thing that actually makes a difference. Going back to kind of some of the research that I did, I think McKinsey put that really nicely. And let me just kind of read that quote to you. Human-centered leadership gives people a sense of purpose and recognizes their ambitions. That doesn't just help leaders help their people, it can also boost a company's bottom line. So that also reminds me of the engagement research that we talked about earlier. Like putting that into perspective, like you should look at what is it that drives engagement.
Yeah.
And that too is proven to be not only being nice, building nice relationships and having great positive feedback conversations with one another, right? It's also often about like purpose alignment, the value adding. Do I, as an employee, really feel that I add value? Is it clear to me how I contribute to the results of the business? Things like growth and development are always part of that too. But accountability in a way, and whether that word is exactly used or not, I think shines through in that too. So when looking at those stats where it says companies with high engagement also drive higher profits, I think the condition for that is that leadership kind of is adding that magic ingredient of accountability to it, not just that being the empathetic leader, but also really driving that accountability.
Yeah.